Live your life with your friend. Pursue big things and accomplish your dreams. Learn to love and learn to grow. The Spouse Podcast, you are in the know. S.P.O.U.S.E, S.P.O.U.S.E. What can be your true destiny? S.P.O.U.S.E, S.P.O.U.S.E.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome. Thanks, band. Good to have you all on board. And this is Spouse Podcast
Numero uno.
So here we go. We are so excited to be here. This is going to be an adventure. And today we are going to talk about the SPOUSE acronym. So many of you probably look at this and go like, what is up with this? Obviously, I can spell S.P.O.U.S.E. Why is there an abbreviation? Like, what is going on? Is there not an abbreviation? Is that right?
Yeah.
It is right. Sorry. But the Spouse and Spouse Podcast is an acronym. And we're going to tell you guys all about that. So the first S.P.O.U.S.E. the first 6 episodes are going to be all about talking about the Spouse acronym. It means a lot to us. And guess what? Today, the S, because we're going in...
We're going to go in order.
Synchronous. We're going to go in order. All right. So with that said, it's a pleasure, seriously, to have everybody on board. We're so excited to just be able to do this. We were just praying just before this and thanking God for the opportunity to be able to speak to public, to other couples, and hopefully encourage you guys, challenge you guys, give you something to strive for in your lives. And that's what today's is. So guess what? The S, how many people out there think the S is sex?
Not me.
Let's hear it.
I know you're going to have to bring that in there, though.
Well, yeah, because isn't that important in marriage? Let's show hands, even though I can't see your hands. Yes, let's hear it. The S is important, and the S is sex. But today it is not. But wait, there's another S. So maybe that's going to come up later. So today, here's a really weird one. Do you want to tell them what the S is, honey?
Do you want to tell them what the acronym is first or no?
I don't. I want to give them a little taste
This is
of each
just
one. Because that makes it better.
Oh, okay.
Don't you agree?
Sure. So we're going to do the S, which stands for set goals together. Which sounds boring, but actually it's not.
So why would and how would a couple set goals together?
First, I think we need to sit and visualize where we want to go together.
Sure, let's do that.
You could sit separately and then come together. You could sit together and kind of talk through it. But really the whole point is to visualize where you want to be. And we like to visualize 3 years out for our goals, just because 1 year tends to be not enough to really push you. And we want real progress. We want real wins, bigger goals. So we want to push it to 3 years. A lot of people want to do 5 or 10. Something like that, but it's harder for your brain to wrap around what it'll look like in 5-10 years, especially if you have kids. It's like a complete life change. So 3 years is optimal. So
Okay.
That's what we focus on.
So we're casting a vision 3 years from now, and
Yes.
it is January 2026. So we're looking at 2029.
Yes.
And we're going to cast a vision of what?
Where we want to be in 2029. But it's not just where we want to be, it's also who we want to be and why we want to be in that position or become that person.
That's legit. That's money right there.
Because, if you don't have the why, you won't have what it takes to get through the grind of 3 years of consistent habits, which we don't just lay it all out in 3 years and then, trudge through the trenches. There's actually a system to get there, but a lot of people will hit a wall. A lot of people will just kind of fizzle out. So that's also where accountability comes in to the goal part. But that being said, it's why we want to be there. It helps us stick with it, and then who we're becoming and where we're going to be.
So we're we're going to talk more into like the SPOUSE acronym as we bring these to you each week. You guys will get another taste of it, and you'll start to realize that. But we were discussing this, and when we laid out the SPOUSE acronym, we were like, which letters or words do we need to use for this that mean something to us? So the reason we said set goals together, and we should talk a little bit on that, not too much. The reason we decided to set goals together. So probably 3 years ago, we joined the Better Life Tribe, right here. Boom. Shout out to Brandon Turner. Actually, I was on his goal setting summit today. It was super awesome.
Silence your phone, sir.
Silence your phone. Sorry about that.
Jeez.
Let me. Oh yeah, now you're gonna do it. Call me out.
No, mine is on silent almost all the time.
Her phone is on silent.
More
even
than
when
it's on ring.
Let's talk about. Yeah, that's a good one. We can talk about that another time.
We're not going to go down that
yes,
rabbit trail.
we will not go down that rabbit trail.
But
so
we could talk about how basically setting goals together brought our parallel lives onto the same course,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Where we started working together to get places, because I think most people who set goals, it's individual.
Right.
And so when you add the spouse component, it's a tremendous benefit.
Well, okay, so going back really quick, so I was talking about Brandon Turner. He's a real estate investor. We've been fans of him for a long time. Amazing Christian values, just a great guy. And he started this, the Better Life Tribe, I guess 3 years ago or so we joined. And the big part of that he loves to do is goal setting. And so we did that. My wife, you caught on to it really quick, and she just kind of bought into the whole thing. And I was like kind of a skeptic. I'm like, there's a lot of like weird stuff in here, this 5-year you, all this kind of crazy stuff. And so Lexi was just talking about that. Like, so anybody that's listening right now and they're like, why would I want to do a 3-year vision? I don't want to think 3 years ahead.
What is that woo-woo?
Yeah, that's what
stuff?
I said. I was like, what is this woo-woo? I don't
visualizing garbage.
Yeah, see? And so here's the thing. I drank the Kool-Aid. We'll just say it like that.
Okay, you said, I will be the guinea pig. I will do what he says and see if it works for 1 year.
Yep. And it worked, guys. Actually, quick story on that, too. And you can actually listen to our interview with Brandon on his podcast, A Better Life podcast.
We talk more about that.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that. Jeff and Lexi, obviously. Before we were on the podcast, this is crazy. We met him. That was the first time we met him. It was in Vegas. And I told him, I said, one of our goals, or my goals at the time, because we did not set goals together, we set goals individually.
Earlier than that, didn't you?
No, it was Vegas. No? That was Vegas. So I just said one of my goals, and I was a total weirdo. I was all nervous, like shaking his hand. Oh, hi, Mr. Turner. Whatever. And I was like,
Jeff
one of my
looks up to him, quite literally.
I literally look up to him. Yeah. So I told him one of my goals for that year was to be on his podcast by the end of the year, because I was going to follow his goal setting and buy into the hype and do it. And one of my goals was, again, to be on the podcast by the end of the year. And guess what? That actually happened. And not only me, my wife, obviously, because here's the crazy part. We both nailed that year. I think it was 2024. Okay.
Yeah, 20.
Wow, dang, it seems like longer than that.
Oh my goodness, this is like 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Whew, slow down. But it was so cool that we nailed like so many major things that year. Like it was seriously like the end of the year, we closed on a bunch of real estate. We hit a bunch of health goals, crazy stuff that we just didn't even think was possible. We worked it out and made it happen. Then we show up on his podcast. So
Right.
that was like the final like goal.
So I think if anyone has done like a vision board or even thought about, I might like to do this, and then they start working towards it, just your brain thinking about that, it starts moving towards that. So like another thing is probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we made, everybody at the beginning of the year make vision boards, and the different things that actually happened without us even meaning to from different vision boards, it's kind of crazy. So all this to say, don't skip the vision part, even though you might feel like a weirdo.
Yes.
Because most people don't sit and daydream, I guess you'd call it, or be creative. Like, it seems like something you leave in your childhood, but it's super important. Like, you look at professional athletes before they do a run or something, they'll close their eyes, they visualize it because it works. So don't skip the visualizing part, or you won't really know where you want to go.
You're incredible. Like, seriously, like, that's so good.
Thanks.
Wow, I need a moment. Sorry. No, that was super impressive. Okay. Yeah, so don't skip the visualization and buy into the hype. Buy into the whatever we're saying right now, because it legitimately works. Here's the cool thing. If you see somebody you like, or you want to be like somebody, right? I want to make $1 million, or I want to be like this person. Go to them and ask them what they do and do it. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's too easy. It's too easy to ask. To do it is the actual part that's difficult, right? And that word is consistency. So you can go and you can set all these amazing goals. You can have this crazy vision, but if you do not have accountability and consistency, you will not make those goals will not happen. And that is another part of this whole thing we're going to talk about later is accountability.
Right.
Working with somebody else, your spouse or someone else that can hold you accountable on a weekly basis to go, hey, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Why are you falling off track, right? Because we suck at holding each other accountable. We're if it's just me and I'm like, I'm going to set goals by myself and not tell anybody about them. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym.
Who's going to know if you don't do it?
I'm going to go to the gym. Guess
Right.
what? Jeff wakes up in the morning. He's like, maybe I'll skip the gym today. And actually, I'll tap into these donuts that are left on the counter. I just won't tell anybody. Yeah, well, I'll tell somebody later, and it'll be through my gut getting bigger. So
Right.
the reality is you need accountability. You need someone there to kind of push you and motivate you and stuff like that. So I want to get
Right.
into another part of this. Setting goals is important. That's what the
Right.
S is.
And I think we kind of leapt past the goal setting part and went to the accountability part. But if you think about what you just said with the consistency, it has to be broken down into smaller, doable tasks that you can be consistent with. Because it's just like the saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you have a huge goal, you have to break it down. Okay, we have 3 years, or we have 1 year. So then we break it down into quarters. We break it down into months. We break it down into weeks. And another thing that's helpful with these longer term goals is sprinkling in the shorter term goals, like we just added thanks to our friend Megan. She had the great idea of small wins, weekly goals that you accomplish, because then that also fuels, your momentum and keeps you motivated.
Right, and that's a key thing I want to talk about too is you have a goal, right? The goal is, let's just say it's like the destination, right? You're like, hey, if we're thinking maps and stuff like that, like this is our destination, that's your goal. There's a way to get to that goal, right? And how do we get to that goal? We have to have a map with directions to get us to the destination, right? So the way we do that is it's called habits. There's something that you have to do on a daily basis in order to hit that goal. So those habits that's your navigation, right, to getting to the destination. The destination, let's say it's Jamaica, whatever, some amazing place, right? Well, what's the boring part of that whole trip? Is the habits, is the flying, driving, whatever, trying to get to Jamaica, right? So if you can get through the boring, moving the ball 1 yard at a time, if we're talking football analogies or whatever, that's not fun. Everybody likes the play where the quarterback throws it like 60 yards, catches it with one hand, runs it in the end zone. That's amazing. That's cool. In reality, the teams that do the best are the ones that move the ball consistently down the field, right? So we're going to move that ball consistently, but that's boring. It's not fun. It's not like everybody's like, oh, that's the great part. And that's why most people fail with goals, is because the habits are not that fun. But when you remember, and like Lexi was saying a little bit ago, the destination is where you're going. So when you have that visualization of like, I'm going to be here, and you work through that, you're going to see that come to fruition. So that's one of the key things with accomplishing your goal, is building habits that will specifically make you a map to getting to that destination.
Right. And part of what we do too when we do goal setting is rating where we're at currently and what do we need to work on, what do we want to work on, and picking just the top most important parts, because a lot of people that are highly motivated, high achieving, want to do all the things, and if we get too many things going, too many pathways to get there, then we don't make progress in any of the things. So that is another reason that the visualizing helps with, okay, what is important to me? And then you sit down, you go, okay, these are the specific things that are important to me now that I want to immediately work on, and it should be something that really pushes you too. It shouldn't be easy to do, because if it's easy to do, you'll probably just kind of do it anyway. But if it's a big goal and you really have to push yourself, that's where it's going to take the dedication. That's where you're going to get the big wins and actually change your life.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, is we call them like stretch goals, right? So you want to have goals that they're in reach. I mean, or let's just say they're just outside your reach. You're like, oh man, that's kind of crazy. With that said, you don't want to have goals that you just can't even, like, it's crazy. If you're in real estate and you buy one house and that's what you have right now, and you're like, okay, so for 2026, I want to buy 100 houses. That might be just a little bit too far, like, gone. That's like, maybe if we brought it down to 50, right, like 50%. Okay, and you hit, or that's 100%, so you hit 50 homes by the end of the year. Okay, that's definitely stretching you, but you can still probably attain that. And that's what we're trying to get to, is like, you have to challenge your brain. Like when you're like, yeah, we could probably do a house or two, we could do this. No, push a little more than that. If you get to the end of the year and you didn't hit 50 homes, but you got 25, that's not a failed year. That's an incredible year, because that's the key to this, is like, if you don't set goals, if you don't push yourself, you're going to end that year just like another year. So you can't really say Happy New Year, because it's not a new year. It's going to be the same year again, because you didn't do anything different to make that year new, right? So think of that every time you're setting goals, that it's got to be achieving. You're setting that destination. You're like, there's my destination. Now once you do that, now how do I build habits, the roadmap to getting you to that goal? So
Right. I think another aspect too, which is unique to working with your spouse, is, okay, what do you think of this goal? If Jeff says, I want 5,000 houses in 3 years, and I'm like, I don't think so. I was thinking more like 20. Compromise is key, right? And we're going to find through the whole process, the biggest thing that we can do is communicate and compromise. And it will be so much better. It's actually, I think, good to have some conflict, because if we have no conflict, then we're probably not both truly sharing our feelings and our goals, because we're not the same person. So there's no way we're going to 100% align. So working through this hopefully will make the relationship stronger rather than be a source of contention. So once you figure out that part, it's helpful to the whole rest of the relationship.
This is the best part. Okay, so we say it's not set goals, it's set goals together. Mm-hmm. Together meaning your spouse, right? So this is the part I want to get into. I think that's so interesting is like we did this for a year or more actually. We actually did this with our kids probably for the like the last 10 years we did it. We would go every year and do like goal setting with our phones and stuff like that, or writing it down. But we always did it individually. Then we did that one year where we had an amazing year, 24. And we realized we should be doing this together. Well, why would you want to do that together? And I think that's the whole unique part of what we're building here. And we just started our campfire community, which is all about couples and helping couples set goals together and just accomplish amazing things while supporting the marriage, which is the number one most important thing. So when we actually sat down and we started writing out, like, how are we going to teach couples to set goals together? There was a lot there that we had to discuss. It was like kind of difficult because just like Lexi was saying, there's a lot of compromise. There's a lot of things where it's like, but that's not what I'm thinking. That's not. So you have to get on the same page, and that does take some debating and some discussion. And it should sometimes be a little fiery because you have passion for this. You're both trying to achieve something and change your lives. The best part of this is I love this analogy. You say it all the time, and it's the boat analogy. And I'll let her talk about that in a second. But this is what's so incredible is when you two both figure out to get in line and get on that boat, and then you start to row. But you have to row in what?
Together.
Yeah. Or in the same direction, right? Yeah.
Yes. And you could think about it also as you're in two different canoes. Is it easier if you are both in the same canoe, going to the same place, Or is it easier if you're all by yourself and you're not even moving together and you're like, hey, way over there, how are your, your business goals, or how is everything going? And this also should be said is there are personal aspects, right? Like, obviously, I'm not going to say, oh, my goal is to be the best father or to, like, gain weight. Like, there's personal goals, but typically there's both.
Yeah.
And you want to just, support each other in both types and work together on the ones that you can. Like, unfortunately, Jeff can't give me his metabolism, but he can help me with business tasks, right? Which we don't want to get too far down the road into the other acronyms, but
yeah,
just, working together, you just make a lot more progress.
Right. And I think that's what we can give one acronym up right now, and that's what we set goals in. It's not really an acronym. It's we call it the 4 core life pillars, and those are faith, family, finance, and fitness. And fitness is also mental fitness, right? A lot of fitness, sometimes we forget that, is up here. It's not like how strong you are or whatever. It's actually mentally strong, because if you want to run a big marathon or all this crazy stuff, it starts up here. And then from there, it gets displayed down into your body. And so your mind's telling your body what to do. Anyway, with that said, the 4 core life pillars. So we ask all of our couples in our Campfire Mastermind community, they're going to set goals on those 4 things. Why did we choose those 4 things? We'll go into this really quick. The reason we did that is because we're also accountability coaches. And all of the clients we coach usually set goals with those 4 things in mind. It's usually a finance goal. There's always some type of faith goal in there, and a fitness goal and family and stuff like that. So it's very, very common for people to do that. So what we do is we go through and we say, okay, set your faith goal. A lot of times that can be aligned between the couple, right? So for us this year, our faith goal is to really envelop and develop a very strong knowledge of the Bible, the history of the Bible. By going, we want to go on a cruise with our daughter and take her to like areas where Jesus walked and the disciples walked and stuff like that, and learn a lot about the history of the Bible, but also just reading everyday devotions and things together and praying together and stuff builds that between the both of us, so we both get to do it. One thing we do every single day is we pray together. There's a lot to that, really a lot to that. So then we go on from there to finance. So a finance goal, that should be couples related, right? If you and your wife or you and your husband are working on goals and stuff like that, one of the a very, very important topic in the household, in every household, and we've talked to a lot of different couples, is the finances. Most of our fights come from finances. It's usually like you're spending too much money, you got this going on, we shouldn't have bought this car, whatever it is, you're usually fighting about finances. So those definitely need to be a goal to where you're organized and you are working in that same direction, whether you're trying to get more rental properties or you want to start a business or whatever it is. The two of you can align yourselves in that goal. So by the end of the year, you're not fighting about your finances anymore. You're actually in the boat, rowing the same way, going after that financial goal together. And that's the whole point of this.
Right. And I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you on...
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah. So Jeff was saying, you know, his clients, all of their goals fit into these 4 core life pillars. I actually have noticed not that. I've noticed that, especially in males, some females too, there is a much higher priority put on the financial ones, because it's typically, I need to buy this many houses, I need to get this much cash flow, I need this much income from my business, I need to start this many businesses this year. It's very skewed in the financial quadrant. So I feel like by telling everyone, put goals in these 4, it creates more balance. And hopefully it's helpful for all different personality types, because it kind of forces you to think outside of the competitive conquering box that a lot of high achieving people get kind of stuck in. So we want to help with more balance because it prevents burnout as well.
That's a good point. And I can agree with that to an extent. Like a lot of my clients are utilizing most of those. Like they're using faith, they have family in there and stuff like that. But you have a good point that a lot of people will focus mostly on the financial side. They want to make money. They want to make money. And we can speak really quick on this of our history and the reason the Spouse podcast exists and the reason the Campfire Mastermind exists. And we're looking at writing a book and all that stuff is because we went through a lot of hell together. We're going to be talking more about that when we interview each other, which comes up after the Spouse Acronym. So episode 7 will be Lexi and then episode 8 will be me. However, there were some times in our life, probably 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, where it was very, very, very trying on us. We got into a lot of battles, a lot of financial battles, and a lot of it was because we didn't have money. I got cut off from my job. I had 0 income for over a year. She was going through a lot of medical scares. We were in the middle of a live-in flip. This is just the tip of the iceberg of some of the chaos that we went through. But the one thing we realized through that was a lot of focus was this financial strain. Like, we need to make money. We want to do this. We want to go do that. With that said, we put aside our marriage. We put aside our family, and we were focused more on these other goals. And I think that started to really destroy the internal part of our marriage. However, we were able to obviously keep it together. And now our marriage is extremely strong, and hence why we're doing these other things to help other couples.
And that's pretty atypical of, it's usually not people not getting paid for a year why they're pushing for finances. It's usually the more, which, not to go more down that rabbit hole, but it's just our competitive nature that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
So obviously you need money, but keeping it, in the right balance.
Correct. Yep. So before we end and we close this episode out, I just want to say the importance of setting goals. And I can't stress this enough, and that's why it's the number one. I know a lot of people were like, a lot of men especially were probably like, bro, it should have been sex. Like, sex is very important. Stand by, that's coming. This one is much more important in this aspect of what we're teaching and setting goals together. When you learn to really do that, and I think this was our first time we did it, like 20 days ago or whatever, we sat down, Lexi created this amazing, we did this thing called Goals for Souls. It was a online event where all the money that was paid, it was $12 per couple to join, and all that money went to children in Kenya to provide them a pair of shoes, which was super cool. So anyway, she created a whole workbook for that, and we worked on that and set our goals through that workbook, and it was incredible. But that moment that we got to sit together and really kind of talk about where we wanted to be with our family, where we wanted to be in our finances, that was the first time ever in my life where I think we both really connected really well. And we had good discussions and really focused in on, like, by the end of 26, where we would like to be with our children, with our grandchildren, with our finances and all that stuff. And it was super, super fun. So just incredible. And I really hope that someone is getting some information out of this podcast, out of this episode, that will help you guys learn to maybe set goals together.
You want some fun facts?
Oh, I love. Let me have some fun facts.
I was going to say something else too before we get into that, but when you're talking about, we never talked about these things, because typically, unless you have prompts asking certain things, you don't talk about them. So we want to bring up those different things so that you can talk about them together and really set a plan. So we didn't really get into, how to really break down the goals into pieces and then how to align the habits. We do that a lot with our mastermind and our coaching clients, but just a few facts for anyone who never even joins a group, never gets accountability. So by just writing down your goals, because most people just think of them but don't write them down, you're like 43% likely to accomplish it by writing it down.
Say that one more time.
Yeah, 43% if you write it down. But here's the craziest one, because there's a bunch of them, right, in stages. The craziest one is if you have weekly accountability, meaning you check in with someone weekly, it goes up to about 93 to 95% likelihood of achieving that goal.
It's incredible.
So that's pretty insane.
Yeah, that's really insane. I mean, 45% just for telling other people about it is crazy, but being the 90 percentile for those that meet like on a weekly basis and stuff like that. And that's a lot of what that's mostly what the Campfire Mastermind is all about. It's about motivated couples and encouraging marriage. And then we have weekly accountability calls where we mastermind and we work together and we go through our goals and habits. And we've been doing that now consistently for 3 years. We've been working through our habits. And I'll tell you guys, like, it's been life-changing. And I've seen a lot of other couples that we've worked with and a lot of other just individual clients and stuff like that we both worked with that have had major success. And I'm not just talking, when people think success, it's usually money. We're not just talking money. We're talking family. I had a friend of mine who's also my client that was saved. Went to church. His girlfriend has been praying for him forever, and he went to church and he was saved, and that was a huge milestone for him. Never thought he'd get to that point. So there's a lot of amazing things that happen when you go out and you do these things, just setting goals together. So what I'll do is I'll challenge you guys just at the very end here. We'll call it the napkin strategy, okay? And if you want to, we can give you, if you go to the campfiremastermind.com/goals for souls. There's info on there where you guys can sign up and you can get our workbook if you would like to get that. It's really good. My wife spent a lot of time on it, and
It's really beginner friendly too. It's not overly complicated. It's pretty basic, so it's good for someone that's just starting out.
Yeah, you nailed it. You did a heck of a good job on that. If you want to do that, you can. However, if not, do the napkin strategy. Go with your spouse. You guys go get some dinner or do something. Go somewhere awesome. Do not just go to the place you always go. Or do not, I'm going to go
Or
get her
in the living room.
in the living room or whatever. Make it special. Why? Because you're stinking looking at changing your life. You're looking at going into 2026 with a whole nother view on like your life and how it can be. So make it special. So go in there, talk about the things we just talked about. Take the 4 goals. If you want to do the 4 core life pillars, remember faith, family, finance, fitness. Work through those goals together. And then even if you, for now, you guys just name them and just be like, man, what if we hit this? What if we hit that? That's exciting. That's a huge part of that. And then from there, come back. Because guess what? We're going to move on to the P, which is also a habit that we do. And it's not literally going pee. So just so you all know, it's not. But that's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. So anything else to say to the audience before we cut them loose?
Nope. I guess this was just this was really just a brief overview and trying to convince you of why to do it. And there's a lot of tools out there that you can use to accomplish this. We should probably figure out sharing a lot of these on social media. Just different things that we can help people walk through the process.
I think that's a good idea.
So if you follow us, look for things that will help you with the goal setting and the visualizing and that sort of thing.
I like it.
Where?
Where should you follow us at? If you
Yes,
guys want to
where?
follow us, we don't have a spouse podcast. It's just at Jeff and Lexi on Instagram.
We have a spouse podcast. We don't
No,
have a spouse in Instagram.
I meant to say we don't have a spouse podcast Instagram. But yeah, if you
Yes.
want to follow us, at Jeff and Lexi on Instagram, at Stash Investor, at Lexi Bowden.
I would just look at Jeff and
Oh,
Lexi because
whatever.
I'm not putting freebies on all the places.
Okay, so if
Let's
you want
keep it simple.
freebies at Jeff and Lexi, and we'll be posting stuff throughout this year, guys, like weekly, like just freebie things that you can get to help you and your spouse just change your life. So again, I don't necessarily want to say we're trying to convince you guys to do this. It's your choice if you want to do it or not. All I can say is it works, and it's absolutely amazing. We wouldn't be sitting here right now in this studio we built having a spouse podcast, and it started a business called the Campfire Mastermind and all these other things we've done. We would not have done that if we did not sit down and set goals together. So there you go.
Thanks for listening today.
Thanks for listening.
Hopefully you come back again.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody comes back again. Thank you so much for listening, and we out. See ya.
S.P.O.